We're getting to the point with this truck where all the little details matter. We're gonna do a lot of stuff in this video that you'll see not many other people would do, but we're gonna go overboard on this because we want this truck comfortable, reliable, and powerful. The first thing we need to address are these little cracks here in the cowl. Now, it's not ideal to address these after it's been painted. I actually checked this over before I sent it off for paint, and it was all just fine. But now it's cracked, and that just shows you how easily this can crack. It probably cracked just from being handled and moved around in the paint shop and taking it to and from there on the trailer. All that jarring around caused these cracks. So we're gonna address these just because it could cause leaks, weird noises, and it could affect the integrity of this part of the cowl in the future. Pro tip from an amateur welder, but when you're welding thin sheet metal like this, what you want to do is just little spot welds, and you want to separate them because you don't want to build up too much heat and burn through the metal. It'll burn a hole right in it. So that's why it doesn't look the prettiest with nice little beads, because it's just spot welds going all over. Not pretty, but that's the best way to do it. Now for seam sealer, I'm using this 3M urethane seam sealer. I've used it before. I got it in white so that we don't have to worry about, covering up a black spot. So let's throw this on, and then I'm going to show you a trick that I think will work, but someone commented on one of my videos about 2 years ago and told me about this. We'll try it and see if it works. So when you put seam sealer down, you need to smooth it out. And then the last time I did this a couple of years ago, I had gloves on and I did it, and it just made a mess no matter what because it stuck to the gloves. Someone commented, I think his name was John Hatton, to get some laundry detergent and slightly dilute it, and don't wear gloves, he said. I don't know, I'm skeptical. So let's see here. Wow, I'm shocked, it actually works. And look at that, nothing left on my finger. This worked amazing. John, thank you very, very much. All right, John Hatton, that trick is incredible. If you are ever doing seam sealer, get a little bit of laundry detergent, dilute it just a little bit, and just dip your bare finger in it. It is phenomenal. I'm shocked. So I do have some paint match that we're gonna touch up all this paint with, but we're gonna wait a few days. I wanna let this seam sealer completely cure. It does take a few days for some of the chemicals to air out of it. So we'll let that happen, and we'll move in to the inside of the cab. Also, I bought a whole tube of seam sealer for that little spot. So I found on Amazon these little things that, I don't know, they're rubber, they kind of roll up like that. I don't know, they don't look like anything that I've ever seen. But they unroll onto the tip and the shaft of the caulk bottle, so I think it's gonna work and save it from drying up. If you're interested in them, I'll put a link in the description, but I can't give you any feedback on how well they work, but they're cool nonetheless. Maybe some of y'all can use those. If you remember in the last video, we installed new V-band clamps on our exhaust from all the way to the turbo, all the way down. Now I had a few people comment and give me a really good suggestion, and I wanted to share that with you as I fixed some of these clamps. So the suggestion that was made was, first, remember at some point the bed and already the cab is on here, we want to have good access to these. Now I did have that in mind. I tried to keep most of these pointing down, but someone else commented that the only relief really in these clamps is right there under where the bolt is. So he suggested we should make sure that's at the very bottom. In case there's any condensation or water that needs to drip out of the pipe, it has that spot to potentially drip out. I don't know if that'll ever be an issue, but it's not hard to do. Now you're seeing we're having to strike a balance, because now we've got that gap at the very bottom, but I don't want to have to get up in here and have my drill stuck between the fuel tank and here again. So I'm going to angle it down just a little bit more. There we go. Now we've got easy access to it, and that's really what's most important. So here is the sound deadener and insulator that I chose to go with. This is called Membrane by Resto Mod Air. It's thick. It's got what Kilmet has, but then it has about an 8mm thick piece of dense foam. So this should work wonders on this truck. So we're just gonna start taking it off, pilling it, sticking it, see how far we can get. All right, we've got everything laid down that I bought. I'm going to need another box though. There's still some spots in the corners. I still want to get the firewall. So we have a little bit more to go. But here's my initial impressions on this stuff. One, it's expensive. And two, it's kind of a pain to put on compared to Kilmat. But my hope is that as they market it, it should be more effective than Kilmat because it is much, much thicker. And it sounds like it deadens a lot of the sound. I'm hoping that it helps with that because I want this truck to be nice and quiet and comfortable. So we'll see in the end. The other thing, you can kind of see some of the seams. I didn't realize this, but they sell a tape that matches this pattern to kind of cover up all your seams. So I ordered that. I ordered another box. We're going to finish that once that stuff gets here, but we can't wait around for that. Let's jump to installing the HVAC and the AC unit. I'm excited to show you what I got. So I went with Vintage Air for the HVAC and AC for this truck. They've been around for a long time. They have a great reputation. This is the Gen 5 unit. Let's take a look. Oh boy. Comes with all the ducting, warranty information, modern rotting magazine. Who could live without that? So compared to the factory unit, it's definitely smaller. I don't know if I could say half the size, but it's quite a bit smaller. Let me pull some stuff out, make sure everything's here. Find some instructions. Unfortunately, I might need those on this project. And then let's figure out how we're gonna get this installed. So unlike the stock Dodge heater box, the stock one goes through the firewall, so they have this huge hole in the firewall right here. The Vintage Air one does not go through the firewall like that. It mounts totally on the inside of the cab right here. So I got with Travis Poffenfiber, I think is his name, and he drew up and cut me out this block off plate. And I think he has these available. He's on Facebook. I'll put his links in the description. So we are going to mount that right there, and that blocks off all the holes that would be in the firewall from the factory heater box. So the first thing I want to do, I think I want to use nut certs for these. So we're going to use 1/4 nut certs. I'm going to drill these out just a little bit, get those installed, and then we'll mount it up. And then we can mock up our heater box and figure out how we're going to attach it to this panel. Okay, we have our rib nuts installed. We're going to kind of mock this up. There we go. So the unit comes with this kind of universal mounting bracket, and I want it to go right here, but you can see it's just a little too big. So I'm actually going to trim it down just a little bit, drill some new holes, come and mark the holes, put some riv nuts in, and then that will be how we secure it to our panel. And just like that, we've got it cut down, new holes drilled. So I'm gonna tape it on there and we'll mark our holes. Got the bracket on our box. Let's see how it works. This is a pain in the butt, but I'm gonna enlarge these holes just a little bit. They're barely big enough. The screws don't go through quite as clean as I'd like. All right, attempt number 2. All right, we got it in there. Fits really good. It's got a little wiggle to it, but they include this bracket that you bolt on here so that you can try and come up with something to hook it up to the upper dash. So I'm definitely gonna do that. I don't know what that'll look like, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I just wanna mock it up. I need to determine where we're gonna have our AC and heater hoses go through this plate. And then the wiring, we're gonna do all in one video. So we've got the wiring right here, but this thing is pretty dang sweet. All right, so I kinda went rogue on you, didn't film this, but remember how shaky it was before. This bracket came with the kit, which is nice. And so I built this piece that goes up there, and now it is solid. So we'll get this powder coated. I'll clean it up a little bit. We'll get that powder coated with some of our other brackets. And that'll be nice to kind of tuck all the wires and everything behind there. So these 2 outlets here are for the defrost. And they send these kind of universal defrost vents with it, and I don't want to use these. I'd have to make something to mount them up, and the factory ones line up with the dash holes, so we're going to use the factory one, but we're going to have to modify it. So I'm going to actually combine this intake onto here. So I'll probably cut these off about right there, cut these off, get them attached, and then we can just run our tubes from the defrost all the way up to the vents. Oh! Here is the tube for the other 4 vents that come out of the dash. This is 2.5-inch tube, whereas for the defrost it was 2-inch tube. So I have an idea. I was thinking about modifying the stock vent system that comes from there, but I don't think that's going to be the best idea for these dash vents because there's 4 outlets from the airbox and there's 4 vents. So I got with Travis. He's the one who built the block-off plate, and we're going to 3D print an adapter that goes on here, rectangular, and necks down to a 2.5-inch circle so that you can just hook each tube onto each vent 1-to-1. It should be a much cleaner install, and it should be more efficient as well to get just the same amount of air out of each vent. So that'll be a week or 2 down the road. I'll update you on that when we get ready to install the dash. We'll get the rest of the vents and the tube installed. But this thing is turning out awesome. All right, our seam sealer is dried. If you have the paint code from when you get your truck painted, you can go to the paint store and actually have them mix up a little bottle of touch-up paint. So that's what I've done. Now, it doesn't look as nice, but it looks fine. And again, this is not a high visibility area. We'll probably do a couple coats because I doubt I'll get it everywhere I need to make it look really good. Well, Decent Garage crew, I love it when a plan comes together. We got a ton done in this video. We got the cowl cracks taken care of. We got the inside sound deadened. We have a little bit more to go on that. And we got our vintage air, heater, AC box, and defrost vents all installed. Now we have a lot left to do, but I've got tons of parts sitting all around the garage. These videos are gonna keep rolling out. It's fun to do a build of this quality. All these little tiny details matter a lot, and they're all gonna be seen. I hope you're enjoying this build series. Let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we will see you in the next one.